Morning, brothers and sisters, back for another video. Thought we'd just read through a couple chapters and maybe understand how we actually divided the pleasant land of the Lord. And we've come to realize that the pleasant land of the Lord that the Lord's referring to, of course, is Israel. Well, the pleasant land, God is also actually speaking of, in allegorical terms, woman. That's what God's actually talking about. She says, you took my pleasant land and you divided it. And we know it's the woman known as the pleasant land that Adam divided, because we get the allegory in Galatians 4, and this is what it says. And we'll read through these two chapters because it comes down to the controversy of Zion that God Almighty is really angry at. So let's go to Galatians 4 first to get our understanding there of the pleasant land divided, and it became known as two covenants, one with a harlot and one with the righteous. Now the first Adam didn't want one with the righteous daughter Zion. He cast her off for a harlot instead so he could make his own laws, which came to be known as Old Testament law, which actually fed out to the four corners of the globe from what became known as physical Judah, Israel, the man. So, and we're going to take a closer look at that term, or at least that verse that we find in Jeremiah. I believe it's 30 or 31. I'll have to look it up because we're actually going to try to read it if I remember to. Where it says, a strange thing is seen in the earth, a woman shall encompass a man. Well, guess what? Adam took over daughter Zion's place and cast her out into the lands of the Gentiles, per what mother told her would take place in Isaiah 49, that she would actually enlarge in her birthright. So we see all those allegories now much clearer once we understand that the woman's seed, and Eve becomes set apart by the first Adam. He doesn't want a covenant with her and renames her Eve, mother of all living. And in Galatians 4 you get this. It says, which things are an allegory, for these are the two covenants, the one from the Mount Sinai, which gendereth to bondage, which is Agar. For this Agar is Mount Sinai in Arabia, and answereth to Jerusalem, which now is and is in bondage with her children. But Jerusalem, which is above, is free, which is the mother of us all. Now that mother of us all was represented by Eve in the beginning, and then by Sarah in a long line of daughters throughout history that this Bible don't even bother to really mention or keep track of. And so that's why it becomes so important here in the last days that they're testing our DNA like crazy. They're actually trying to find these original female descendants. That's what they're actually trying to do, because they thought, well, you know, she's just not that important. And yet mother says, you divided my land, look out. That's the controversy of Zion, and that is what the day of the Lord is about. And we teach a lying theology that says man's going to rescue you. Well, that was the dividing of the land. And he took unto himself a wife, known as Baal, actually, in Isaiah 54, which simply meant a harlot spirit wife that would teach his lying theology to her children. That's simply what that meant. And but mother is very upset, because she said, you took away my pleasant land. You took it away, and you split her and you divided her. And I keep finding that term. She keeps giving me this term. Yah is my portion, and it's a name, but she keeps giving me that term. So she's telling these daughters that we actually are indwelt by a portion of mother in the end of days. All right, when the Spirit comes upon us, when the glory is manifested in the earth. And but we're going to read two chapters. But it says these two women are an allegory to two covenants. Well, that's the dividing of the pleasant land, which was represented by the woman's seed in the very beginning. And God says, I will put enmity between the woman's seed and the harlot seed, is really what she's saying. these two that got divided, known as the daughters of Zion. And there came a division between them, of course. And we're shown that throughout the scriptures. So Mother says, fine, in order to reconcile the nations back, we're going to have to cast you all down, is what she does, actually. Which is also a promise to her daughters of Zion that they're going to reconcile all the nations back. And she says to that one daughter in Psalm 2, it is not a son. Let's look at Psalm 2 right quick. They want to say a son, but this clearly links us to the birthright holder in Isaiah 49, which is recognized as the daughter of Zion. They simply think by putting he that you can't reason anything out. Well, it's clearly addressing a daughter. So Psalm 2 says this. She says to her daughter, why do the heathen rage and the people imagine a vain thing? The kings of the earth set themselves and the rulers take counsel together against the Lord and against her anointed, saying, let us break their bands asunder and cast away their cords from us. Now what they're saying there is, let's cast the daughter Zion's law away from us. They're saying that was like a bondage to them. No, it wasn't. It's what gave them eternal life. And what they actually did was put the bondage on daughter Zion's neck, is what they did. And that was through man-made law, which was Old Testament law, which fed out to the four corners of the globe, which actually bled over into New Testament. All right? Grace is not keeping woman under the law, while you yourself departs from that law. Such a circumcision, which actually wasn't part of the law. It was actually part of the original covenant with Mother God, saying that you wouldn't chase after a covenant with harlot, which is what most men do today, because they want to rule woman and say, well, we're the image of God, not you, and so you have to listen to us righteous sons, because if you don't, you might go astray, because we're so much better for leading than you are. That's kind of the basic understanding there. Now, she says to her daughter here in Psalm 2, and it is a daughter, because you link the birthright that she's saying, ask of me, the nations, right? Or the heathen, and it is a daughter she's talking about. She is not talking to a son, because like I say, it clearly links back to Isaiah 49. So, verse 4, she that sitteth in the heavens shall laugh. The Lord, that's 136, it's daughter Zion, shall have them in derision. Then shall she speak unto them in her wrath, and vex them in her sore displeasure, just like they did with her daughters. Yet have I set my queen upon my holy hill of Zion. So she chooses a portion of the daughters for herself to indwell. Then she becomes known as the daughter, because then the Almighty is Mother, 3068. Okay, so you see a correlation here of, though they're one, they're separate, yet they're one. It's the same with the Father and Son, yet they're separate, they're one. All right, he's made in his Father's image, just like she's cut out of her mother. So that's what you're looking at in allegory. So I will declare the decree, the Lord hath said unto me, thou art my daughter, this day have I begotten thee. So the portion, the pleasant land, that is, Yah is my portion, is these daughters saying the Spirit is my portion that comes upon me. And that's the daughter Zion claiming her portion of land, the pleasant land, which is the daughter Zion, which was given in covenant to man's teaching the truth, until he divided that, tore down the stronghold of daughter Zion, built himself up Babylon, so he could write his lying theology and laws and subjugate the righteous daughters under him. And again, that's why you get Job saying what he says. All right, we're going to go back to Psalm 2 in a minute, and then we're going to read them 2 chapters. But what does Job say? Job says this in 30 or 31. I can never keep the 2 chapters separate. So he says this in, must be 31. He says, I made a covenant with mine eyes. Why then should I think upon a maid? For what portion of God is there from above, and what inheritance of the Almighty from on high. So he's talking about his wife. Why should I think upon a maid? That's the dividing of the pleasant land. All right? And she says, you took my pleasant land and you allotted to yourselves each a parcel of it. So she's saying you took my daughters and you took them as if they were yours. They're not. They were mine. And that's what the controversy of Zion is about. Back to Psalm 2. So she says, I will declare the decree the Lord hath said unto me, thou art my daughter. This day have I begotten thee. So she's talking about finally finding a daughter that understands the truth. And it says, Yah is my portion. That means the righteous spirit begins to indwell these daughters as the pleasant land of God. Ask of me, and I shall give thee the heathen for thine inheritance, and the uttermost parts of the earth for thy possession. See, that's the daughter Zion being restored back to the first dominion. It always belonged to her, always. And that means that the Almighty God, who is represented as the Spirit Mother, takes a portion of the pleasant land known as woman from this world, and then stakes a claim on them as her inheritance. And the way she stakes a claim on them is by her Spirit indwelling them. Alright? As the government of God upon this earth, as the Spirit given in covenant to man to teach him the truth of heaven. You're getting all your allegories there. Now we're beginning to understand. Alright? Thou shalt break them with a rod of iron. Thou shalt dash them in pieces like a potter's vessel. Yeah. She created them. Be wise now, therefore, O you kings, and be instructed, ye judges of the earth. Serve the Lord with fear, and rejoice with trembling. It says, kiss the son. No, you better kiss the daughter. Lest she be angry with you. And we know it's her and her wrath. That if you don't turn away from a covenant with the harlot, she's going to cut you away, and she's going to strike through you in the day of her wrath. We're told that in Psalm 110, once we get the handle on the correct numbers and who they belong to. 136 was always daughter Zion's number. They can put he all they want. Mother says, my spirit is in the truth, is the truth. And you can deny it all you want by putting he, but my truth is going to speak in the end. And so she says, you better kiss my daughter, the righteous spirit, who I gave you in covenant. And don't even think you're going to cast her down this time, because I've already empowered her to take you out. And I think that's what's going on right now. The enemy is actually trying to get in a position to take the righteous daughters out. That's the rising up of the Antichrist, okay? A man who is against Christ's spirit, all right? And it says that he possesses a hatred for women in particular. Well, the woman that he hates is the righteous spirit. But you understand that that's the abomination of desolation, a man inside of a man claiming to be the spirit of man. And his ruler is the abomination that maketh desolate. And yet it says, more are the children of the desolate than of she who has a husband. Well, she really technically don't have any children, according to Song of Songs 1:8, where it says, I've took care of his vineyard, but my own I have neglected. So technically the vineyard's hers. And when you receive the teachings of this spirit, you become her children, the new Israel. But these daughters were cast out into the lands of the Gentiles, which was a promise in Isaiah 49, which then leads us back to that passage in Psalm 2, ask of me, the heathen. And she did. She said, I will ask of you. I'm going to ask you that I end up with them all, that I govern them all. And she says, I'll give the heathen. And she did. That's in Isaiah 49. She says, you'll not only be a light unto the Israelites, and we're told in Isaiah 54 that it is the seed of Israel that inherits the Gentiles. That's what we're told. It's a reference to these daughters that were cast out and divvied up. That's kind of your idea. So, once you get all of that theology pulled together, and I know I could clarify that better than what I did. I'm going to watch this and probably go, you did that bad. Anyway, I do everything bad. So Isaiah 34, let's read it, and we'll go to Joel 2. We'll kind of look at what God is saying there. All right? I don't know, maybe we should start in Joel. Let's start in Joel, and then we'll swing back to Isaiah 34. I believe we did Isaiah 34 in a study somewhere in one of my videos. I'm coming to an end on this, I think. And though I often say I'm done, sometimes I'll throw out some videos anyway, so might do that anyway if I'm done. I don't know. For behold, in those days and in that time when I shall bring again the captivity of Judah, alright, and Jerusalem, I will also gather all nations, and will bring them down into the valley of Jehoshaphat. What does Jehoshaphat mean? So we're not looking at a name. We're looking at an action. That's what we're actually looking at. So they tend to do this. The men of Baal, the men of Belial, the liars who translated the words, would often think cleverly, well, we'll just put a name in there, and it'll mean that. But they'll never think to look up the meaning of the names. Never. You know, to get their true understanding. Sorry. All right. What does it mean? Jehoshaphat. I get it. I believe it means God has judged. Oh, I got it pulled up here. Yeah. Sorry about that. I have that actually here. So let's pull that up. So it is Hebrew 3092. And it means the Lord has judged. Alright? So they're in the valley where the Lord has judged. Okay? And but they figure, well, we'll put Jehoshaphat in there and jump in Jehoshaphat, they say. And they'll never think to actually look up the names and translate the names to mean a term or vice versa. They'll put a term when it's really a name. They do this often. That's what, and they think they're so wise and crafty doing this stuff. And but you can catch them quite easy when you do your study. So it's the Lord has judged, where the Lord has judged. Or bring them down into the valley of where the Lord will judge or has judged, and will plead with them there. For my people and my heritage Israel, whom they have scattered among the nations and parted my land. That's the daughters, you see. They scattered the women of Israel, which was known as the woman's seed, all right? And known as the righteous daughter Zion. And when the men of Israel determined that they were going to build a harlot spirit and put her in charge, this was the division between Zion, they parted the land. They made for themselves a new covenant. They think that they're safe and protected under, according to, I believe it's Isaiah 28, might be Isaiah 29. I believe it's Isaiah 28. You go read it. And they think they're protected under the harlot spirit's covenant, that she's gonna go right over them. But that's a double-edged sword, and it may well be Israel apportioned as the double portion. She not only judges, but she not only protects, but she judges as well. So the daughters are promised restoration back, okay? But it's only the righteous daughters that descend from the righteous branches. Mother said, there'll be no branch took from you. None. So what she's saying is, those daughters that fell in the beginning, it could mean this. It could have a twofold meaning, or it may just have one meaning. That there'll be no daughters or descendants from you because of what you did that'll come as a daughter of Zion, as a ruler. There'll be no ruler took from you daughters who played the harlot. Or it could be, no daughter teaching your lying theology will ever become a ruler, ever. So, I mean, it may be one or the other, because we also know it says the sins of the fathers wouldn't be visited on the children. So it may be, that though these mothers of these daughters became part of that harlot spirit, or became the harlot spirit for man to teach a lying theology that exalts a man over a woman, that just because they did that any daughter comes from them that does not teach that, but does teach the truth of heaven, that the sins of the mother ain't going to be held against the sins of the daughter. All right? Because we get that understanding in the Bible. All right? So it says, I will, and for my heritage Israel, whom you have scattered among the nations, and parted my land. So the land you have split my land, my pleasant land, was woman, like we just said, into two covenants. One that became a harlot, and one that stayed the righteous spirit, who eventually became the outcast that no man sought after. He did not want a covenant with her. That's why most sons today are not circumcised. They're actually in covenant with the harlot that teaches him exalted. That's why this doctrine tickles their ears. It's like honey on their tongue. It's cobra's venom in their stomach, we're told. It's killing them. It's also the wormwood in allegory, when you see it poisoning the waters. It poisoned the doctrine, is what it did. And the idea is that he actually, and forgive me for saying this word, but it's an actual word in the Bible, he actually pissed in his own well. That's what he did. And so he polluted it. He actually polluted his own well. The well is represented as the woman where you were to get your word from. And we're told that in Proverbs 5. All right? She's also the milk that you are to drink. All right? And the daughter Zion's breast becomes as towers, and she is nursing her children with the milk that comes from heaven. So those are all allegories. So she's classed as a well. The wife is classed as a well. And then her breasts are like towers once she grows up and she begins to actually be the pupil of mother's eye that is beginning to understand the truth. And she is the child, actually, that's going to lead them, that grows up into the truth. And it's not a man. It's this spirit that grows up and learns to nourish your children. It says a child will lead them. And it's that we're growing in the spirit. And the child is the daughter Zion, as a little girl growing up in the spirit, beginning to understand what is required of her as the new spirit upon this earth, reborn out of the dust of the earth. So, I mean, I'm sorry I talked so long, but it's really important that we get a hold of this. So they were scattered and you parted my land. So that's per Isaiah 49. That was permitted to take place because of what we read in Romans 11. If the casting away of them be the reconciling of the world, what shall the receiving of them be but life from the dead? So it's talking about the casting off of the daughters. They were cast out into the lands of the Gentiles. They were actually parted, the land that was parted, the pleasant land, the daughters. And mother also told a portion of these daughters in Micah 2 to leave the land because it was no longer her rest. That they were looking to pollute the land. They were looking to pollute the portion in the midst of the body known as the flock of Bozrah, and they did. Solomon installed a harlot spirit in the midst of the body so that he could control the teachings, is your understanding. So they parted the land, and in Isaiah 49 she says, you'll not only be a light unto Israel, you'll be a light unto the Gentiles. And it's talking about her birthright being expanded, which then takes you to the verse in Psalm 2 where she says to her daughter, ask of me the heathen. And she says, I'll give you all of them. I'll give you everybody. And the way that takes place, it looks like, is that, and this is going to be a hard one for most because I haven't talked about it a lot, so I'm not probably going to get it in the terminology I need it in. That the spirits that have gone on before, the dead that have gone on before, are drawn to her light. When she rises up out of the dust of the earth, these daughters that those that have gone on before are drawn to her light. And it is through her teachings, these daughters' teachings, that grow bright. All right? So those that have gone on before are like in a dark place right now. They're not in the light. They're in a dark place because it was a lying theology that they were founded upon. But yet it was Christ's promise that the Spirit, the righteous Spirit, would be returned back to them. So though they're not where they need to be, they're still not in the heavens. It's her light that they see. That's what it looks like. I'm just telling you an allegory. It's her light that they see, that they're drawn to. And when they're drawn to these daughters' lights, because it is the doctrine of truth that makes you the light of the world as the Spirit, these spirits that have passed on before, or these sons and daughters who did receive Christ, not fully understanding the doctrine of truth, were promised to be indwelt by the righteous Spirit eventually. So when she appears on earth in the physical realm, all right, the dead are drawn to her light, and from there they receive the truth, all right, and are admitted passage through her gate. Okay, that's what it looks like, because of that understanding you get in Isaiah 26. It says her light will even reach to the dead. She resurrects the dead, you see. And so you kind of get that understanding. And the one that's leading them to that light, to these daughters of light, is actually the Son on the other side. And he's pointing them and saying, ah, there she is. There she is. So that's kind of an allegory, an allegorical understanding. It's not all of it, but it's certainly part of it. So, but then that's why it leads us to Psalm 2, Isaiah 49, Psalm 2 go together. Ask of me, and I shall give thee the heathen for thine inheritance, and the uttermost parts of the earth for thy possession. Which then lines up with what she told her daughter, not her son, in Isaiah 49. She says, you'll not only be a light unto the Israelites, you'll be a light unto the Gentiles. Now, understand, it's also, I believe, in Isaiah 54, where it states that it is the seed of Israel that will inherit the Gentiles. So it is referring to these 10 northern tribes of Israel, known as daughters, which was the rightful queen that ruled. All right, the righteous daughter. And Mother says to the son who married a harlot spirit in Malachi chapter 2, she says, she was the wife of your covenant. And she's talking the righteous spirit. She was the wife of your covenant, not the harlot that you built up so you could rule yourself like you were a god. And now she says to him, well, deliver yourself. Deliver the children. If you're the God of this world that is responsible for delivering the children unto me, then you do it. I'm going to watch you do it. I'm going to step back and I'm going to let you do it. But you see, they can't. And that's why you see him standing around, every man standing around with his hands on his hips, as a woman in travail, and every face turned pale. And it's also an allegory to the governments of the world falling. Your he-goats. Not your she-goats, your he-goats. And there is a separation between the two. All right? Jeremiah 30, verse 6. Ask ye now and see whether a man doth travail a child. Men don't travail children. Wherefore do I see every man with his hands on his loins, as a woman in travail, and all faces are turned into paleness. You see, they are unable to deliver the children at the end. They're teaching a man. They're teaching a man that's going to deliver the children. No. This creation, God's creation, testifies that it is woman that delivers children. It is her womb that forms the clay. She's the potter. She's the Creator's image, mother. That is why the pleasant land was known as feminine, which was known as her inheritance as she indwelt. And when they split the land, she became very angry at Adam, Idumea, who says, razz her to the ground. We don't want her for our stronghold. That's them casting off what they consider the bands or the bonds that we just read about in Psalm 2, and said, we're the kings. We're going to rule, baby. And they did. And we're going to put her under us as our harlot. And that's just what we did. So, okay. I was reading in Joel 3. We'll go back to Joel 3. And they have cast lots for my people, and have given a boy for a harlot, and sold a girl for wine that they might drink. That's just what they did. And that's a reference to our children, our vineyard, and what they did to our children, all right, when they scattered the women among the nations and parted my pleasant land, all right. They did it in lots. They cast them out into the fields of the Gentiles. And yea, and what have ye to do with me, O Tyre and Zidon, or Zidon, and all the coasts of Palestine? Will ye render me a recompense? And if ye recompense me, swiftly and speedily will I return your recompense upon your own head. So she's speaking a judgment here. Because ye have taken my silver and my gold, and ye have carried it into your temples, my goodly, pleasant things. That's also an allegory to the daughters. Pleasant, the pleasant land, Israel. And it's a reference to these daughters that served in the Holy of Holies, or in mother's temples as her precious vessels. Alright? That's what it's a reference to. The children also of Judah and the children of Jerusalem have ye sold unto the Grecians, that ye might remove them far from their border. Alright. Behold, I will raise them out of the place whither ye have sold them, and will return your recompense upon your own head. And I will sell your sons and your daughters into the hands of the children of Judah, the new Adam. And they shall send them to the Sabians, to a people far off, for the Lord hath spoken it. Proclaim ye this among the Gentiles, prepare war. Wake up the mighty men, let all the men of war draw near, let them come up. Beat your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say, I am strong. These are your daughters of Zion. I am strong. I will do mighty deeds for my Lord. For Yah is my portion. Assemble yourselves and come, all ye heathen, and gather yourselves together round about. Thither cause thy mighty ones to come down, O Lord. Let the heathen be wakened, and come up to the valley of Jehoshaphat. That's the Lord will judge, or has judged, or the judgment of the Lord. For there will I sit to judge all the heathen round about. That means to sit enthroned. Again, it's a reference to the daughter Zion back in her rightful place. Put ye in the sickle. There's your sickle that you find referenced in Revelation as well. Put ye in the sickle, for the harvest is ripe. Come, get you down, for the press is full. The fats overflow, for wickedness is great. Now we know this is daughter Zion threshing the nations, because of what it says in Micah 3 verse 13 or 4:13. It's Micah 4:13, I believe. Let's just look that up right quick. Micah. I'm in there, look at it, of course. It's Micah. I always have trouble finding it. Okay. So, what's it for? Micah 4? Yeah, Micah 4:13. Arise and thresh, O daughter of Zion, for I will make thine horn iron, and I will make thy hoofs brass, and thou shalt beat in pieces many people. You see, that's the judgment done by the daughter Zion. They like to put it as a city. Well, it's actually mother indwelling her inheritance, which is the daughters of Zion. But she takes one as hers, all right? Her specific portion. The sinners in Zion, wait a sec, where was I? Oh, in the wrong chapter, that's why it didn't read right. I'm reading in the wrong chapter. No, I ain't. Okay. I was in Joel, that's why I'm confused. Sorry. Sorry about that. Okay, so Joel 3 we were reading in. It says this. So where was we? We were let the heathen awake. Okay, put ye in the sickle, for the harvest is ripe. Come get you down, for the press is full, the fats overflow, for their wickedness is great. Multitudes, multitudes in the valley of decision. There we are with the valley of decision. We had the valley of vision in Isaiah 22, which we've discussed. This is now in the valley of decision, for the day of the Lord is near in the valley of decision. The sun and the moon shall be darkened, and the stars shall withdraw their shining. This all takes us to the Revelation. The Lord also shall roar out of Zion and utter her voice. It's not his, it's hers. This is her portion that she indwells. And her voice from Jerusalem, and the heavens and the earth shall shake, but the Lord will be the hope of her people. So there you see almost your double portion allotted. She's not only your judge, but she's your hope. She's your protector. Which again takes us back to that as 2nd Ezra chapter 13, where it says the same one that brings on the judgment is the same one that will also protect you. So it's clearly referencing a daughter, though they have it as son in 2nd Ezra. The 2nd Ezra 13 is considered not canon from God. They didn't include it. So you'll have to go looking for that in the Apocrypha. Okay? But it is clearly referencing a daughter that rises up. It's not referencing no son. And she that brings on the judgment is the same one that will offer you protection. So that kind of lines up with what it's saying here. It says, the Lord also shall roar out of Zion and utter her voice from Jerusalem, and the heavens and the earth shall shake. But the Lord will be the hope of her people and the strength of the children of Israel. So shall ye know that I am the Lord your God, dwelling in Zion. Zion is your pleasant land, represented as the women called the daughters of Zion, whose mother was angry at man because he split her land. One became a harlot wherein he could rule himself, and the other one got cast out as the outcast, and she became very angry. And she said, when my daughters, who are made in my image, who are cut from me, start acting like my righteous daughters again, then I'll turn back to them. All right? And that's what we have going on right now. So shall you know that I am the Lord your God, dwelling in Zion, in these daughters. I am the Lord your God. My holy mountain, my rulers. Mountains is another word for your rulers. And the current mountains that's established here in the world are your he-goats, who climbed up another way. And we've discussed that, how they did that, through their lies, through their lying dreams, through their pineal gland, which I have a video coming up that's going to talk on that. And so these are your he-goats, your mountains, which are your he-goat rulers, which is actually going to take us in Isaiah 34 when God says, I'll judge between the sheep and goat. I think it's in that, if it doesn't come up here. And the reason why it has, I'll judge the sheep and the goats. The goats there is your he-goats. Your sheep are the one who still fall in that lying theology. That's why she says, I'll judge. She's not saying, oh, it's the goats I'm going to take out. That's lying in Greek in the New Testament. That was the men of Baal putting that in there. Your she-goats are your mountains, is your Zion. And she is spoken of in the Abrahamic Sarah covenant. The heifer represents Israel, restored to her rightful place as the ruler, not only of earth, but of the heavens, because earth becomes the holy of holies, where her word feeds out into the entire new heavens. Her doctrine does. And that's shown flowing out from under the throne in Jerusalem in Isaiah 46, 47, somewhere there. And that's Israel. That's earth as Israel. In accordance with Isaiah 27, verse 4, I believe, where it says, not only will she'll fill all the nations with her seed. All right? And again, that takes you back to Isaiah 49. That's promised to this spirit. more are the children of the desolate than of she who has a husband. And so we're looking at all of those allegories of the pleasant land as daughters. All right. And man split that land, made himself a harlot spirit, built her up, daughter Babylon, so he could rule himself and treat her like a harlot. So shall you know that I am the Lord, okay? And it shall come to pass in that day that the mountains shall drop down new wine, and the hills shall flow with milk. So this is talking about the restoration of your daughter Zion as your ruler, as your stronghold, as your mountain. And all the rivers of Judah shall flow with waters, and a fountain shall come forth of the house of the Lord, and shall water the valley of Shittim. So this water is found flowing out from under the New Jerusalem. All right. And that's your new spirit, your righteous spirit, New Jerusalem, restored back. Restored as the New Jerusalem. That's your daughter Zion, as your spirit that rules the body, that is given in covenant to man. She was the covenant of his youth, the righteous spirit was. It wasn't a harlot spirit. He chose to split the pleasant land and made him a harlot and said, razz her to the ground. We don't want her. And build up a harlot so we can rule ourselves and cast off mother and cast off daughter. And we'll be the gods of this earth, to which mother says, fine, you deliver the children. You're the creator, you're the potter. You shape the clay in your womb. You teach it. You deliver it. But you see, they can't. And that's why she vexes them in Psalm 2. And milk and all rivers of Judah shall flow with waters, and a fountain shall come forth of the house of the Lord, and shall water the valley of Shittim. So the house of the Lord, again, we see in Ezekiel 46, Ezekiel 47. That's your New Jerusalem established on the earth. And the prince is Christ, 113, that goes up to meet daughter Zion, whose number is 136. And the one that seems to be in the Holy of Holies is 3068, mother. All right. And so you get all of those. The prince is Christ, is who the prince is. And the Lord is daughter Zion, 136. And so if you want to go look, Ezekiel, I'm pretty sure it's Ezekiel 46, 47, 48, somewhere in there. And it says the new waters will flow out from under the throne of Jerusalem. And then you understand your waters is your doctrine, is your truth, is your milk that nourishes you as children of God. To whom will I teach precept? Precept too, she's talking about her children, the little children, okay, will receive her. Egypt shall be a desolation, and Adam shall be a desolate wilderness for the violence against the children of Judah, because they have shed innocent blood in their land. But Judah shall dwell forever in Jerusalem from generation to generation, for I will cleanse their blood that I have not cleansed, for the Lord dwelleth in Zion. That's in her daughters. All right, who is the righteous spirit placed back in Jerusalem, which rules Judah, which is a reference to Adam. The daughter actually comes from Israel. I believe she's Ephraim. Ephraim is actually derived from ash. So again, you get your allegory to the red heifer that was burned to ashes to cleanse the temple. So I believe strongly she comes from actually the tribe of Ephraim. Your queen does, which is alluded to in the blessings of Joseph in Isaiah 49, in Genesis 49. Okay, so that's Joel 3, and it takes us to actually Isaiah 34 if we want to read this. Come near, ye nations, to hear and hearken, ye people, let the earth hear, and all that is therein, the world, and all things that come forth of it. For the indignation of the Lord is upon all the nations. This is the threshing of the nations that Joel 3 just took a look at, the day of the Lord. The threshing of the nations by the daughter of Zion, who has sat down to judge the nations. Mother says, rise up, daughter Zion, take the yoke off of your neck, and come away from daughter Babylon, and you sit on your throne. You are the wife of his covenant, the righteous daughter. So, for the indignation of the Lord is upon all nations, and her fury upon all their armies. She has utterly destroyed them. She had delivered them to the slaughter. So that's her judging All right? Any that wants to turn away from playing the harlot or from being indwelt by the harlot, whether you be male or female, she will protect you. All right? Their slain also shall be cast out, and their stink shall come up out of their carcasses, and the mountains shall be melted with their blood. So she's talking about your false rulers, all right, who wrote laws, made a covenant between himself with a harlot, which became known as Old Testament law. The land that gets destroyed looks like it is actually physical Israel. And it says in Jeremiah, and again, we're just looking at this through allegorical eyes. It says in Jeremiah 31, verse 22, it says this: How long wilt thou go about, O thou backsliding daughter? Right? So that's us playing the harlot under a lying theology. And she's saying to her righteous daughters who also come under this, because over time the perpetuating of violence causes this. But then she wakes up the spirit that's been asleep in these daughters, all right, who were backslidden, not to the point of being lost. For the Lord hath created a new thing in the earth, a woman shall compass a man. Adam took control of Israel, physical Israel, and he put in play his own covenant. That became known as Old Testament law and the covenant with the harlot spirit. The pleasant land got tossed out into the lands of the Gentiles. The righteous daughters did. All right? And so there you see the 10 northern tribes of Israel, which is also the stone cut out without hands, because the spirit is not cut out by hands. The spirit that is cut out without hands as the Mount Zion, smashing the 10 toes on that false image of a king. It is not a king that rules. It never has been. That's a lying image. But these 10 tribes, these 10 northern tribes known as Israel that got cast out are now surrounding a man. That man is Edom, that took possession of her birthright, Mount Zion. That was her birthright. And so it becomes known as the harlot spirit. So that land looks like it's actually going to be destroyed. That's what it looks like. 23. Thus saith the Lord of hosts, the God of Israel, and yet they shall use this speech in the land of Judah, and the cities thereof, when I shall bring again their captivity. The Lord bless thee, O habitation of justice and mountain of holiness. Now she remakes the mountain. All right? She says you'll not only, right? So the earth becomes known as Israel. That's what we're told. And there shall dwell in Judah itself, and in all the cities thereof together, husbandmen and they that go forth with flocks. For I have satiated the weary soul, and I have replenished every sorrowful soul. Upon this I awaked and beheld, and my sleep was sweet unto me. Now, the new covenant is what this next section is called. Okay, how long is my video here? I just need to see. Alright, we're getting pretty long. Behold, the days come, saith the Lord, that I will sow the house of Israel and the house of Judah with the seed of man. No, it's actually the daughters this time. This was never considered man's seed, his birthright. When you're looking at seed, you're actually looking at the claiming of a birthright, of a teaching, of a law. And that law always came from the daughter Zion's mouth, which was represented as Mother God's Spirit upon this earth, which was also known as her pleasant land, her inheritance that she inherited with her spirit. And so it's technically woman's seed, because they're beginning to hearken to her spirit, her teachings now. And it shall come to pass that like as I have watched over them to pluck up and to break down and to throw down and to destroy and to afflict, so will I watch over them to build and to plant, saith Mother Almighty. In those days they shall say no more, that the fathers have eaten a sour grape, and the children's teeth are set on edge. Isn't that a curious saying? I wonder what that sour grape was that our fathers ate. I think we already know. They did not want to hearken to the teachings of the righteous spirit woman. It was like a sour grape to him. So he built his own stronghold, a harlot, so he could rule himself with his own laws. I mean, after all, they do tell us women that we're not equal to men under the law that they make. Women had to fight for every right they ever got from a man. So he is playing like he's our ruler. No, he ain't. He never was. I'll remove the name of Baal out of your mouth. Your husband ain't your lord and your master. He don't make the laws. I do, she says. But everyone shall die for his own iniquity. Here we go. Every man that eateth the sour grape, his teeth shall be set on edge. You see? You see what it's actually talking about? Ooh, they just grit their teeth. It's like sour in their mouth. It's not the honey of the harlot spirit's teaching that teaches a man to exalt himself over a woman, because that's what it teaches. It's the truth. That it is the righteous spirit's law given by Mother God Almighty that rules him. But baby, everybody's gonna have to stand on their own reasoning and account. Just because a father don't receive it don't mean to say a son ain't gonna receive it. Alright? We all have free will. Behold, the day comes, saith the Lord, that I'll make a new covenant with the house of Israel and with the house of Judah. So here you have the righteous spirit, your queen, coming from Israel, and the house of Judah represented Adam, man, male. Israel represents woman, female. Alright? Spirit and body. That's what you have here. A temple with the spirit. Israel is representing your spirit, woman, female, righteous, whom his covenant was with. Judah. We're told in Malachi 2 that Judah married the daughter of a strange god. Well, he married a harlot spirit. That's what he married. And so 32, not according to the covenant that I made with their fathers in the day that I took them by the hand to bring them up out of the land of Egypt, which my covenant they broke. You see? Although I was a husband unto them? No. I was a mother. And if you want to say a wife, I was a wife. It says the wife of his covenant, which was represented by the righteous spirit daughter Zion, that he raised to the ground so he could build his own stronghold, wherein he actually split the pleasant land. These two women are an allegory to two covenants, Galatians 4. So, although I was a wife unto them, saith the Lord. Mother. Mother is a wife to these men through her daughter Zion, who they cast down. Who is her portion, her inheritance, mother's inheritance. But this shall be the covenant that I'll make with the house of Israel after those days, saith the Lord. I will put my law in their inward parts, and write it in their hearts, and will be their God, and they shall be my people. So she is talking about her daughters of Zion, who in the beginning were given to men in covenant to teach them the laws of heaven. And Job speaks of that in Job 31. I made a covenant with my eyes. Why then should I think upon a maid? For what portion of God is there from above? These daughters were mother's inheritance. They were the portion of the pleasant land that she indwelt. The pleasant land was regarded as Israel. And they shall teach no more every man his neighbor. Yeah, because he's been teaching lies. And every man his brother, saying, know the Lord, for they shall know me, the truth. From the least of them unto the greatest of them, saith the Lord, for I will forgive their iniquity, and I will remember their sin no more. Thus saith the Lord, which giveth the sun for a light. The sun is your spirit. Your sun is representing your spirit. Well, that's why the Shulamite says, look not upon me, because the sun has looked upon me and made me dark. So the spirit, okay, the harlot spirit made her dark. All right, so your sun is actually representing your spirit. In this case, with the Shulamite that became black and began teaching his vineyard, but she says, my own I have neglected, was because man exalted a harlot spirit. So the sun is actually a reference to your spirit, where your light comes from. In this case, it made her dark. All right, for a light by day. And the ordinance of the moon and of the stars for a light by night, which divideth the sea when the waves thereof roar. The Lord of hosts is her name, her children, her host. She gives life to the heavens. She does. Woman does. The Spirit does. All right? She laid out the tabernacle. She gave life to it. Mother did. She's the potter. She's the creator. And the light is also spoken of again in Daughter Zion's blessing. She says, you will not only be a light unto the Israelites, but you will now be a light unto the Gentiles. So she's the light. She's the sun. All right? Sun is not male. Sun is female. It's your light. She is your light and life giver. Woman is. And that's why you see in Revelations 12 the woman who delivers her children by the 3.5-year mark. And she has the sun to her back. Okay? That's a symbology of the righteous spirit. Virgo is a symbol. Your virgin daughter Zion is symbolized by that sun, the righteous spirit, who manages to deliver her children, it looks like, by the 3.5-year mark. So 36, if those ordinances depart from before me, saith the Lord, then the seed of Israel also shall cease from being a nation before me forever. So she's again referencing righteous spirit. That's what she's referencing here. Thus saith the Lord, if heaven above can be measured and the foundation of the earth searched out beneath, I will also cast off all the seed of Israel for all that they have done, saith the Lord. Behold, the days come, saith the Lord, that the city shall be built to the Lord from the tower of Hananiel unto the gate of the corner. And the measuring line shall go forth over against it upon the hill of Gareb, and shall compass about to Goath. And the whole valley of the dead bodies and of the ashes and all the fields unto the brook of Kidron, unto the corner of the horse gate toward the east shall be holy unto the Lord. It shall not be plucked up nor thrown down any more forever. Okay, so I read all of Jeremiah 31. Which don't matter, because we're getting our allegory no matter where we turn, once we understand the truth. Alright? So back to Isaiah 34. I also wanted to include one last thing about the name of Cyrus before I leave. Okay, so I was in Isaiah 34. Did I finish Isaiah 34? I didn't, did I? So forgive me. I'm thinking as I go, I think. Shall fall down from my sword. And the unicorn shall come down with him, and the bullocks with the bulls in their land shall be soaked with blood, and their dust made fat with fatness. 8. For it is the day of the Lord's vengeance, and the year of recompense for the controversy of Zion. The controversy, huh? That's the pleasant land that man divided. You split my pleasant land. They say, oh, don't divide Israel, don't divide Israel. That's just a lie they put up in front of your eyes so you don't see the truth. They always split it. They split it a long time ago. That's why Israel was driven to the Gentile nations. But she was always promised that she would claim the Gentiles as hers. And that's why that was done, to reconcile the nations back. And the streams thereof shall be turned into pitch, and the dust thereof into brimstone, and the land thereof shall become burning pitch. It shall not be quenched night and day. The smoke thereof shall go up forever from generation to generation. It shall lie waste. None shall pass through it forever and ever. That's the harlot and Adam's land. Alright? It shall not be quenched night and day. It shall lie waste. But the cormorant and the bittern shall possess it. Okay, we'll just run through these right quick. Again, we're getting nettles and brambles in the fortresses thereof. That's a reference to Adam's cursed land, man's body, because he chose to build him up a harlot stronghold so he could govern himself. He's paying for that now. There shall the great owl make her nest and lay and hatch and gather under her shadow. There shall the vulture also be gathered. Seek ye out of the book of the Lord and read. No one of these shall fail. None shall want her mate. Well, if you look at this, you're going to think mate here means a man. It doesn't. You go look it up. Mate here is female. So there's actually a separation in these last, I believe, 2 verses. Yeah. These should actually be separated from this idea of judgment here. Because what it's coming back to is daughter Zion, her portion. Yah's portion, right? Yah is my portion. I will be indwelt by Mother God's Spirit. So when it's saying, have a mate, she shall not want for a mate, you're going back to the twins that you see that we spoke on. We have a couple videos up on it. Of the twins in Song of Songs as your teeth. But your teeth represent your mountains. And it's also as above, so below, in that though she's driven in the ground here, her mountain is on high. And it's that spirit that's going to indwell her. And so it says, seek ye out of the book of the Lord and read, not one of these shall fail, none shall want her mate. That's the spirit that's going to indwell me. My portion of mother that's going to indwell me. For my mouth it has commanded, and her spirit it has gathered them. The gatherer is your Asaph, your spirit that gathers. And she hath cast the lot for them. She hath determined her own inheritance, and her hand hath divided it unto them by line. So this is her inheritance that she reclaims. She's apportioning these daughters a portion of her very own spirit. And she is the ruler of all things. They shall possess it forever, from generation to generation shall they dwell therein. So that's the full restoration, and she's promised in Micah again that the first dominion will be restored to her. The first dominion is the queen who rules all, everything. She's the great creator. She's the one who molded the clay, everything. She's the spirit that gives life. Okay, was there anything else I wanted to put in here? So those are some things that you can go research and look at for yourself and try to understand in the spirit for yourself. Cyrus, that was the other one. Well, look at this. I have him coming up in an upcoming video. That name. But I forgot to mention that it also meant this. Alright, so when you are watching that video, if you happen to watch this video, bear in mind, I've already made my final video, I believe. But I wanted to include this in the last three. Because I thought it was important enough that we establish the pleasant land, the dividing of the land, and truly what it meant allegorically. It meant woman as the pleasant land, and dividing it into a harlot, into a righteous spirit. That's why you have the woman seat at enmity, okay? And so I really wanted to clarify that that's what it meant. But I did a study on Cyrus, and I forgot to include this in it. And his name also in some translations, depending on what language you're looking at, also meant far-sighted. The far-sighted one, or son, or throne. Alright? And so I speculated in that video that Isaiah 45 is truly the overview of that language, where, like I said, they translate a name for a term, or a term a name. They'll do that. When they don't want you to know a name, they'll put a term in there. And when they don't want you to know a term that may apply to someone in particular, they'll translate it as name. So I'm suggesting that Cyrus is actually a name that they stuck in there that actually translates to the Holy One of Israel that's in regard. Which lines up with all these chapters in Isaiah 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, and then all of a sudden it becomes a man in 45. When she says, I'll hold your hand. I'll hold my servant's hand. Her servant is Israel, the daughter Zion that she's talking about. And which carries through this entire line of thought in these first 5 chapters of Isaiah 40, 41, 40 to 45. And it's all about the servant in view. And she says, I'll hold your right hand. I'll hold you. Well, she's saying, I'm going to make you stand, is what she's saying. She's teaching a child to walk. She's teaching her pupil to walk, is the idea. And she's holding her hand. She's making her stronger, just like a mother does with a child. But Cyrus also meant the far-sighted one. Now, she says in one of the verses, now I didn't write that one down, did I? She says, who can declare to me what took place in generations past and what will take place in the future? She asked that question. Who? Okay. So she's actually seeking for her servant who speaks out of the dust of the earth. That's actually your understanding there. But that links to your far-sighted one, your anointed one, your Holy One of Israel, known as daughter Zion. And far-sighted, actually, when we look, eternal one up, this term, that actually links us to Genesis 21. Okay, now did I write it down? I should have wrote it down. I know I did. But my notes are so over the place. I'm just looking for my Genesis 21 here. Because it takes us to where Abraham planted a grove. Or it was a tamarisk tree, is what it translates to. And there, he called on the name of the eternal God, it says. Alright? Now, it's funny, because that word eternal, and I can't find it in my notes, and I want to wrap this up. So we'll go to Genesis 21. Alright? This is what it says, Genesis 21. Right. 33. Genesis 21:33. And Abraham planted a grove in Beersheba and called there on the name of the Lord, the everlasting God. So let's look at 5769. Now let's see if I can pull it up here. 5769. Just give me 1 second. 5769. Here, I can't see. 5769. Okay. And this is the word that they give you for eternal, and then God. They got a different number for God, which is 410, which is actually the scepter, the branch that entails all the daughters of Zion, I believe. The one where it refers to the one God is 430, I believe. This is everlasting God. 5769 means long duration, antiquity, futurity. Okay, so you're looking at the God who is, was, and is to come. The eternal one. They have it a masculine. No, it's feminine. Your feminine represents your spirit. So it says ages, all successive, always, ancient times, days of old, and it goes on. Perpetuity, perpetually, permanent, long ago, ancient times. So this is the word for your eternal God. But let's scroll down here, and you watch what it says. Properly concealed. The vanishing point, generally time out of mind, past or future, practically eternity, frequentively, adverbally, especially with prepositional prefix, always, ancient time, everlasting, world without end. Now, these words here, when we go in and look them up, now which one is it? There's 3 words here that it points you to looking up. All right, that word eternal one or everlasting one is derived from. So we'll go with 5331 Netzach. I can't say it. Sash. Sorry. Eminence, enduring, everlasting, perpetuity. Now if I can find it. Okay, it was this one. Alright? Always, constantly, end, nevermore, perpetual, strength, victory. The bright object at a distance traveled towards, hence, figuratively, splendor or truthfulness. So, your everlasting one has the truth. To the most distant point of view. You see? So your eternal God, your everlasting God, is going to know, is farsighted, right? can see to the most distant point of view in the past and can see to the most distant point of view to the future. And that's why God, Mother, asked that question. Who can tell me what took place in the past, and who can tell me what's going to take place? If you can do that. And she says that to the harlot spirit or to fallen Adam. She says, if you can do that, fine. You can be God. But you see, you can't do it. Because it says in the Old Testament, in the Psalms, it says he laid a snare that they actually end up falling in. It means lying theology. He laid the snare for the righteous daughters to fall into it, but it says he falls into it himself. He forgot the truth. They don't even know the truth anymore. It's like honey on their tongue. And when they discover the truth, it sets their teeth on edge like a sour grape. It makes them mad. And that's why it says they will learn truth and they're going to murmur. Some of them's really going to hate it at the start until they recognize that it is the truth from God. And I believe you get that in the last verse of Isaiah 29. It might be 28. I'm in the New Testament. I'm not even paying attention. Sorry. And I'll leave. Okay, so Isaiah, I believe it's 29. I think I included everything. Okay, yeah. So it's Isaiah 29, verse 24. They also that erred in spirit shall come to understanding, and they that murmured. You see, there's that word murmured. Shall learn doctrine. So the idea of murmured, I believe, if I ain't got the time to do it because I'm done now, but I believe has the idea of discontented. They're murmuring against it. No, this can't be the truth. There's no way this can be the truth. But then that's why so many falls for the lies of the Antichrist. Because he's preaching he's preaching Old Testament law, making it look pious. Even's got his harlots lined up doing it for him too. And so that's your sword. It's your double-edged sword. She'll either judge you for going against her and you'll be cut away, like the foreskin is in the covenant, which now I link to the millennial reign. I believe this, the 7,000 to the 8,000 year is actually the setting up and the building of the daughter of Zion. And it's the slow cutting away of the foreskin of those that's still in covenant with the harlot, whether it be male or female. And so that's what that 1,000-year millennial reign is for. It's for the building up of the daughter Zion. And then at the 8,000-year mark, it's, the foreskin is completely severed, right, on the 8th day. That's your circumcision. That represents the covenant with the harlot spirit cut away. Because she is the wife of thy youth and of thy covenant, which is the righteous spirit daughter Zion, built back up. Okay, so we get that. All right, and she's also your farsighted one. All right, these daughters are farsighted. They see to the most distant points of view, and they're strong, and they're the ones that brings the victory. And so anybody who gets this teaching, great. But if you don't, it might be wise to take a look at it. And so there's my video. Hope you get something out of it. I thought it was important to make the video on the Pleasant Land so we got a better understanding of just what it entailed and what it really was referencing. Thanks for all who watch my videos and try to understand. I appreciate it. And I hope you all have a really nice day.